What's up YouTube, Saf here on Super Saf TV, and this is my full review of the OnePlus 2. Now the OnePlus 1 was a surprise hit last year, coming from a pretty much unknown company and offering some high-end specs at a very low price, hence the tagline, the flagship killer. It was one of my favourite phones of 2014, so is the OnePlus 2 a worthy successor? Well, let's find out. Starting off with the Buildin Design, OnePlus have really made an effort with this device here. It has a solid metal frame with an interchangeable back cover. I've got the Sandstone back here, which gives great grip, but because of its unique texture, it isn't as easy to clean as more generic materials. You can however buy different covers, so that is a great option. On the front you have a large 5.5 inch LCD in-cell display with full HD resolution, so that's roughly about 401 ppi. It's great, bright with nice viewing angles and colours, and coming from a Super AMOLED display, the blacks didn't seem as deep as I'm used to, but that's just nitpicking. I don't really have any complaints with this display. Yes, it isn't Quad HD like some of the flagships, but that really wasn't a big deal. There's a single bottom facing speaker which is average, and you can adjust the levels for it to suit your style, but it's not great overall. Under the hood you have a Snapdragon 810 64-bit octa-core processor with the Adreno 430 GPU and either 4GB or 3GB of DDR4 RAM. I have the 4GB RAM version here, which also comes with 64GB of onboard storage. The 3GB RAM version comes with just 16GB and there is no expansion available. Performance wise, this has been great, super fast and snappy, and I personally have not experienced any overheating issues. The overall smoothness of this device also comes down to the software. You have Android Lollipop with Oxygen OS on top. This is one of my favourite skins as it really isn't intrusive, almost stock Android with a few useful customizations. For example, the gestures where you can draw a circle to launch the camera or a V to launch the flashlight. Other Oxygen OS features have been covered in detail all over YouTube, so I won't go into too much detail here. I will link you however to MKBHD's video on Oxygen OS if you want to find out more. Looking at the cameras, you have a 13 megapixel rear-facing camera with optical image stabilization, laser autofocus, a dual LED flash and 4K video recording. Overall, it's a nice camera, great quality images with nice colors and detail, and although I wouldn't rate this in the league of something like the Samsung Galaxy S6 or the LG G4, it's probably the best you will find at this price point. I have done a side-by-side comparison of the OnePlus 2 with the Samsung Galaxy S6, so do go ahead and check that out. That will be linked in the description below and you can see more samples there. There is a lot of focus hunting when filming and the software does need some improvement. There's a noticeable delay between the shutter press and the taking of a picture, and it can overexpose at times, but hopefully these will be fixed with software updates coming soon. Up front you have a 5 megapixel selfie camera, which is pretty good, but once again not up there in terms of quality of some of the other flagships. You also only have 720p video recording, which doesn't make sense really because you have 5 megapixels of resolution to play with, so I'm not sure why they didn't include this. Now let's talk a bit about the additional features. First up, you have dual 4G SIM card slots. This for me was very useful. You can have two SIM cards active at the same time and it takes the hassle out of carrying around an additional phone. Now another thing to mention is that this time around we have full 4G LTE support. Now I was probably one of the only reviewers last year to cover the fact that the OnePlus 1 was limited in this sense because in the UK you could only get 4G LTE on EE and the 3 networks. This is no longer an issue thankfully because the OnePlus 2 in the UK now has full 4G LTE support. But do make sure you get the version specific to your country, because although the UK version has LTE band 20 support, this is not available on the US model for example. So if you are going to be importing this in, say from China or somewhere, then that might not give you full 4G LTE coverage in the UK, so do bear that in mind. OnePlus have also included a fingerprint sensor this time around. It works well overall. I wouldn't say it's better than the iPhone 6 or the Samsung Galaxy S6, but it's pretty good. What I don't like is the use of this as a home button. It's a capacitive button and it does have some major issues. You may have seen some talk of this online, and basically if you hold the device with one hand and try to use the home button with the other, it becomes a little bit hit and miss. Something to do with the grounding of how this works. I'm not sure about the technicalities, but it is hugely frustrating. Yes, you can switch to on-screen capacitive buttons, but this does take up screen real estate, and I really hope OnePlus can sort the home button issue with some software updates. The OnePlus 2 also comes with an alert slider too. This is the first that I've seen on any Android device, and it lets you switch between all, priority or no notifications. This is a hugely useful feature and I wish other Android smartphones started adopting this. Another new feature you won't find on many of the devices is USB Type-C. I think this is a very positive move from OnePlus, especially seeing how Samsung and other manufacturers have opted to stick with micro USB for their new devices. And although your existing micro USB collection will be obsolete for this device, you need to start somewhere. Yes, it was super frustrating when I had forgot to charge the phone and I was at work and I couldn't charge this, but in contrast, when it was dark, I could put the USB cable in first time every time. Speaking of charging, unfortunately there is no fast charging on here. This is a big disappointment for me because I have become used to having quick charging and I wish the OnePlus 2 had it. I know the Snapdragon 810 does support quick charging, so not sure what the reason is for not including this. Maybe the current version of USB Type-C not supporting it. I don't know, but it can be limiting. No wireless charging either, so definitely buy a few additional USB Type-C cables if you want to stay topped up, and this becomes all more important because of the battery life, which is okay. I was averaging around 4 hours on screen time with medium use, which isn't bad, but quite a bit lower than the OnePlus 1, on which I was getting around 5 to 5.5 hours. I mean, it is a large 3300 mAh battery, so this shouldn't be the case, and hopefully an update can improve this as well. One thing an update can't solve is the lack of NFC. Having NFC would have made sense, especially with the fingerprint scanner and the imminent rise of mobile payments, but OnePlus have opted not to include this. I personally am not a heavy NFC user as yet anyway, but if you are, then this may be a deal breaker. A deal breaker if you can actually get a deal on this, because it is almost impossible to get hold of this right now. You need to get an invite, and even I was only lucky thanks to my buddy Ash who hooked me up. This doesn't really make any sense to me because apparently OnePlus already have like 5 million people who have registered interest, and as far as I know they haven't given invites out to any of those 5 million. What's all that about? I don't know. Anyway, if you can manage to get hold of an invite somehow, of which I don't have any, then this is an awesome price for what you get. You'll be looking at £239 or $329 for the 16GB model, or £289 or $389 for the 64GB version. Now don't forget to add postage because this does not come free. I had to pay £10 extra for the postage, so that does also go towards the price. So there we have it, the OnePlus 2. Overall, I think this is an awesome device. Can it still be called a flagship killer? Probably not this year because we've got some solid flagships out there, but at this price point I do think this is the best smartphone you can get if you can get it. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, then please do hit that thumbs up button for me. It really does help me out. I hope you like this cinematic style of filming the review video. If you did, then do drop me a comment below and let me know what you thought, and also share this video with some family and friends. It will be good for more people to see this and all the effort put into this video. If you haven't already, then be sure to subscribe. I've got plenty more content coming up in here. You can also see my previous related video linked here in the annotations, and there will also be my social media links on the corner somewhere, so do stay in touch as well. Thanks for watching. This is Saf on Super Saf TV, and I'll see you next time.